What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Bob Arum. Bob Arum states that he might die before his prospects become champions. Bob had this to say. He said that he knows he is one of the icons in the sport, but he also knows he's one of the oldest, okay? And the thing is, he had this to say. He said, I realize my clock will run out, and I don't know if that happens before or after the kid becomes champion. Okay, he still has a hulking stable, and late last year, he added the baby-faced assassin to his top-ranked fighting firm, the 17-year-old Puerto Rican Xander Zayas. Okay, of course they met when Arum met him when he was 16. Okay, and of course he wanted to sign then, and he said that he wanted to sign, and he came out to the office with his mother, his stepfather, and his sister, and they were really tall people. Mother and sister were at least 6 foot tall. He says, I looked at the kid, they showed me clips of amateur fights, and I realized that I had a kid in front of me who was a welterweight who would probably end up at light heavyweight or heavyweight. He has a lot of talent, a lovely kid who you sort of fall in love with. We signed him to a contract and got it approved in a court in Nevada because he was a minor, still is. Most places you can't fight until you're 18, but there are certain places in the United States to fight professionally at 17. Nevada, luckily. Texas, New Jersey are the 3 places. When asked about having to relate to men much younger than him, Arum said, I'm in great health, but I realize that sometime in the future the clock will run out, and I don't know if that happens before or after the kid becomes champion. He said, I would hate to be gone when that happens, but we don't know. As I sign younger kids and I get older, the idea that I'll be there jumping in the ring when he wins a world title becomes less realistic. Wow. You know, that's Bob Arum, just spitting some realness to you. Bob Arum is 88 years old. He's 2 years from 90. What's the lifespan of a human? 100 maybe? Half that in some places, some demographics. So he's definitely over 4 scores, which is he's a legend in the sport, a milestone. Okay. He's promoted everywhere, anyone from Muhammad Ali to Mayweather. You know what I mean? And Pacquiao, he is Lomachenko, Terrence Crawford. He lands to this day. He has some of the top pound for pound fighters, being 88 years of age. Now, if you look at Bob Arum and you compare him to another promoter, I don't know how old Don King is, but Don King and him, they were rival promoters back in the day, and they were through the 90s. Don King pretty much fizzed out in the 2000s, and in the last decade or so that you didn't really hear his name. So that lets you know the longevity of Bob Arum. With Top Rank, he was able to stay consistent with the booking the right type of fighters or promoting the right type of fighters. And it's a lot of accomplishments, but he knows it's just like he knows that he doesn't have long. Even 5 years, he'll be 93 years old. He says he's in great health, but he knows at some point it's going to happen. I think for Bob, me counterpunching Bob, I think he's a realist. I think that he's just calling it the way, he sees it. He's an older guy, so, I might be dead by the time this guy's a champion, all right? Sadly so. Your clock, like he said, the clock runs out sometimes, and that's what we have. I mean, you look at Customato and Mike Tyson. I think Customato wished, and he knew, just like Bob Arum knew or knows, that it won't, he might not be there. He might not live. He met Mike on the ass end of his training career. And he poured everything into that kid because he knew he would not be around. He treated him like a son. And I think when his clock ran out, it broke everyone's heart instead, especially Cuss. But Cuss knew, hey, I won't live forever. So I'm going to do what I can when I can for this fighter. And I advise the same thing for Bob, which I think he already knows that. Being a promoter and being, an experienced promoter like he is. Bob is being Bob. But there will be times, and I did think of that, but those are things you don't like to really think about. You don't want to fixate on death, especially when you're living. I think if you spend too much time talking about dying, I think that's going against the whole concept of living. I think Bob should just live day for day. I don't think that's really healthy for him to talk about it. Of course, have your stuff in order, who gets what, or this, that, the other, because the guy has loot. Okay, but as far as talking about those kind of guys, I know it's kind of sad, to hear someone old talk about it. I have a father, and he talks about that a lot. When I die, when I die, when I die. I'm like, dude, stop. You're alive. You're alive. You're alive. So the same thing, the same advice I give my father, I also give Bob Arum. And Bob Arum, he, keep smoking the weed, right? Keep smoking, because it's obviously doing him wonders. And I hear it's a lot of health benefits in hemp, right? I'm fighting Corona with this joint. No, Bob probably have a pipe. That's some good reefer. I've been smoking this since '69. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Bob Arum making the statement of not being around, or possibly not being around. Leave your comments below. Please subscribe. And you guys been counterpunched. Peace.